Hello and welcome back. Once again, it is time for the Golden Age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since, and it is a source of comic book conversation, the kind we used to have in the comic book stores on any given Wednesday. And I seek to recreate that here today with you. I use this book for its intended purpose. It's a 365 days book. I open up to today's date. We look at some antediluvian art. We read the blurb, and then we talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age from 1956 until 1970. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby myself, 1970 to 1985. And the Copper Age begins in 1985. I get the standards of the ages from the glossary of the Overstreet Price Guide for this year. So this is a really good piece of your comic book collection. If you don't have this, $20 or so on Amazon. Pick it up. So I like to start off the show with a little thing I call the escapism caveat. Activism and advocacy and activists have really taken over pop culture in a way, and to an extent that it's really trying to reshape what is escapism, and to intersect the world's real world problems into all of our fictions, our TV shows, our gaming, our video games, tabletop, role plays, and even in churches, to intersect all these real world problems endlessly, as it takes away from the ability to leave behind the world's problems for a moment, because that's what this escapism is truly built for and made for. These fictions that we use our imaginations, and we don't have to think about the world's problems just for a few minutes in a day. And I see it at this point using history as a lens. I'm a history buff, that these fandoms of ours, or even our churches, or our gaming spheres, we consider us, a tribe, somewhere in the world. Use your imaginations. And we've been invaded by conquistadors, ideological and cultural conquistadors, who come in, want to reap all the benefits of our area, of our space, and use our space for their own goods. They want to use our space as a platform for their messaging. We just want superhero stories, not being lectured. And so activism has its space, it has its place, and so does escapism. So never back down to one of these bullies when they try to label you with bad terms, when we push back, because we need our space and place too. It's just as important, escapism, to leave behind the world's problem. Be an astronaut, be a superhero, get lost in the game, root for the home team, ask Jesus for your forgiveness. If it's all there, and it's all not about intersecting the real world's needs into everything. But that's all I got to say. Let's get back to the fun stuff. It is August the 7th. I hope you're having an awesome day. I hope you are clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. And one of my favorite all-time characters. And this is art by Joe Shuster from the cover of Adventure Comics number 103, April of 1946. There he is. It's Superboy. A boy. Before he's a teenager, he's obviously a child. He's not a teenager yet, so it's kind of odd to see the well-defined musculature that you associate with Superman, such as a barrel chest like that, on someone who is juvenile and not, maybe that's like he's just about to enter puberty, huh? But that's the classic Superboy, as classic as Superboy can ever get. And I love Superboy as a character. One of my favorite Bronze Age, Silver Age, and Bronze Age titles, the Bronze Age specifically, because I was a kid, and one of my first comic books ever was Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. So you have Superboy. He's a teenager, and he has adventures in the 30th century. We call it the 31st century now because we're in the 21st century. Yet we always want that ideal space for the Legion of Superheroes to be 1,000 years from now, from our temporal now. So having Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, that was very special to me. I grew up with it. The only thing I ever felt, we never had was a Superboy Robin team up, and I always thought, and hence why something such as in the current era, Gleason and Tomasi's Super Sons was great. You have the current day Superboy, John Kent, and the current Robin, Damian Wayne, both children, both about 11 to 12 to 13 years old, on their own super team. Really cool stuff. But yeah, this is as basic as Superboy gets. And Superboy gets many elaborations over the years. Superboy is it's a great character. And after the first Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1985, it was decided in order to tell new stories of Superman, we had to eliminate his past and give him a reboot or a retcon so he was never Superboy, and that his first appearance as Superman came on later in life. And so this caused all these convolutions of storytelling, but it's only superhero funny books, so it's easy to you either accept the story given to you or you don't. It's not grand literature, we're talking about superheroes. I mean, it can be done well, but it's still at the heart, still superheroes. And so Superboy became something new, and there was a new Superboy around the death of Superman. In 1992, we got a new Superboy. His name ended up being Kon-El. As in the House of El, Kal-El, Kon-El. And he was a legitimate clone of Superman and Lex Luthor. So he was half Kryptonian and half human. And he was a clone that was released too soon because the clone hadn't achieved biological maturity yet. It was still a teenager. And it was after the death of Superman, and we got this clone of Superman, and lots of great Superboy stories told with Kon-El. He's the Superboy I'm going to call of the Millennium Age, and it was really fun because he also had adventures with Tim Drake Robin, who was his best friend, and the speedster Bart Allen, who was known as Impulse. There was also Cassie Sandsmark, Wonder Girl, and they had their own Teen Titans. And that was really fun. He was a great Superboy. Then there's John Kent, who was the current Superboy until recently, until he developed something called SORAS. What is SORAS? SORAS. SORAS, Soap Opera Rapid Aging Syndrome. For any guy or gal or anyone in the grand spectrum of humanity who's ever watched a televised network soap opera in their lives on afternoon television knows that the children age very rapidly, and eventually someone who's in their 30s is now a grandmother. One Life to Live, All My Children, General Hospital. I've watched them all. Yes, I have, unabashedly. And I've always enjoyed the fact that comic books were soap operas for boys, using just different trappings. And so the current John Kent was a kid a couple of years ago, and it was fun. He had a real Superboy, and due to a clever edit, he was made into a young man. We skipped a lot of years of him developing and watching Lois and Clark as parents. So then we were given a rapidly aged Superboy, who is now about 19 years old. And he's come into his own as the second Superman. And especially something in like the newer titles right now. Superman is off-world, and John's been left in charge. And he is Superman, not Superboy. There's been also, I love alternate Superboys. So Connor Kent, he had his own Superboy title in the 90s, and it was great to catch up on those comic books when I came back in 2001, 2002. I read all of those Superboy comic books. And there was a Superboy, Connor Kent, from an alternate universe. His name was Black Zero, and he was a really, really great bad guy. And it took a team up of different Superboys all over the multiversal idea of hypertime to team up and take out Black Zero. And that was really awesome because Black Zero, in a way, predates my favorite Superboy parallel, my favorite alternate Superboy. This is from 1985. This is DC Comics Presents number 87, and this is a Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, and this is the first appearance of Superboy Prime. Superboy Prime was just a Superboy from a different Earth on the Infinite Earths, on Earth Prime, our Earth here. There was a boy named Clark Kent who grew up on a Smallville farm, and actually he didn't grow up on a farm. He grew up in the suburbs, and of a major city, and his parents were more suburban, and they weren't farmers. So that's where a divergence happens. But he was still a Superboy, and he still helped Superman and the Superman of Earth 2 save the former multiverse, the now DC universe, from the anti-monitor. Yes, that's comic book talk, isn't it? But Superboy Prime, by Infinite Crisis in 2005, 2006, it has a heel turn. That's a wrestling term for when a good guy, or a babyface, goes bad in the storyline. He makes a heel turn. So you have heels and you have baby faces in wrestling. That's pretty much, explanatory. You can use oh, that makes sense. Yeah, look at that. Lately, in the past 20 years, heels, baby faces, they still, that's kept, I guess, archetypically, but everyone's an anti-hero now. So, but Superboy Prime has a heel turn in Infinite Crisis and becomes one of the best bad guys ever in the DCU. Yeah, a negative interpretation of Superman, a Superman that never lived up to its potential and didn't have the same kind of, upbringing as well. He didn't have the farmer values. He had suburban values. So Superboy Prime ends up being an allegory for the comic book fan at the time. Like this, so many changes. I don't like what this is doing. This isn't my universe. Why did I sacrifice all this for this lousy stuff? And we were saying that in 20 years ago. We were saying that 40 years ago, I guess, too. But yeah, so we've been talking about comic books. We've been talking about Superboy, and we've been talking about the golden age of DC Comics. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Ring that bell. Would love to be part of your daily YouTube day. I make daily content. I talk about cooking, spirituality, gratitude. There are nature videos of bunnies eating their breakfast, and there are also, I point out planets in the pre-dawn skies. If it's clear and there are planets out there, I'm pointing them out. So come and join us. Thank you so very much. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.